still going to have more games coming. Literally right now, the backup game is ready, and we're going to jump to our other table so that we can see more Riftbound
Wait
action.
a minute. That is former professional League of Legends player Goldenglue, who is currently still, I think, an acting coach for a team. I'm not sure which team he's currently with. I'd have to get up to date. But that is Goldenglue here at our table in a Kaisamir. Currently up a game for our backup match. We're jumping into game 2, as it looks like Goldenglue was able to win that first one. And now he has selected Targon's Peak up against Chris A, playing Grove of the God Willow. Targon's Peak, when you conquer here, you may ready 2 runes at the end of the turn. Grove of the God Willow, when you hold here, draw a card. We'll see who can take down this Kaisamir. Will it be Goldenglue? Will it be Chris?
You know, I will say this. I have been very surprised at the number of Kaisa players we've seen on this broadcast that have brought Grove of the God Willow to this event. The battlefield, I think, is outstanding. It's just one of those that I think is antithetical to what Kaisa traditionally wants to do. You want to conquer more often than you want to hold, but we've seen a lot of players bringing it, so maybe I need to, you know, readjust my expectations.
Yeah, I think it's generally been tech to play against the Aurora decks and Master Yi for when you're on the play. Getting to Grove, it's very hard for them to conquer, especially in the early game. So when you get to Grove early on, and then you get to kind of have all these extra cards, it becomes even harder for Master Yi to deal with. This was a big tech from Omega Zero when he won Shanghai. It was Grove and Start at Peak that we saw from some other players as well that were trying to continue to even maximize that further, as those were the matchups they identified as the ones they cared about the most. As we are going to see Goldenglue just go ahead and accelerate his Kaisa, try and get a draw and a score out the gates, and he will get to ready 2 runes at the end of this turn from conquering Targon's Peak, and he is going to be already pushing the pace of the game, 2 points out the gates, setting up for that point tempo to 4-6-8.
And Chris temporarily dropped a Mind Rune, picked it back up, so at 6 runes does have a Hopeful on the board as well. We've talked about it a bit already on the broadcast, but 6 is where plays like Darius plus a Cleave come online. I see in the hand of Chris a Falling Star, 1 Cleave, a Hextech, a Retreat, but no Darius. So this will be an interesting one for Chris to navigate because there's presence on both locations. With the Hextech, might be able to deal with one, and then with the Stupefy here, could potentially try to conquer the other. The one downside, though, is that Pouty Poro has Deflect, so if Array is the desired answer there, you would still have to recycle a rune because the Kaisa power is likely going to be paid. Oh, actually, I really like this. So heads up, going to Stupefy the Kaisa to get it to 3 might, and then use the Ray over there to dodge the Deflect of the Poro. And the Hopeful goes in to Target's Peak, likely wants to be able to ready runes at the end.
Yeah, going to be able to have some runes available at the end of this turn. And I was wondering if Goldenglue would have a retreat or some other recourse to try and get that Kaisa Survivor out of there, but no, just going to have to eat it. Does end up getting to, ready 2 runes for Chris. He plays the Kaisa Survivor at base, ready to go, but Goldenglue will score up to 3 and be quite ahead on points right out the gates, as he is going to now draw up. Does draw for Grove of the God Willow, as the Pouty Poro was able to hold.
So looking at Chris A's hand, again, we are in game 2. I think some of the sideboard tech is already available because there is the Acathian Rain. That's normally a main deck card, but I think the other 7-cost card is the Mech, the just massive body, which, again, can be good into Aurora, but we've been seeing them come in these Kaisa mirrors very often because the 8 might is a solid break point for surviving against Watchers when they don't have the comes into play effect, as well as Falling Stars and some of the other removal options.
Yeah, it can be really nice to have one sitting on the back row, try and deal with things later on into the game if you have the time, as we are going to see a Falling Star. Looks like he pointed at Survivor, and Chris does have the retreat, and I think that is going to be very likely to just be deployed here. Try and stop this from happening. Going to get that back. Falling Star going to go away. There are still 4 runes available for Goldenglue. Can look to just develop. As he does move the Pouty Poro back, says, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to hold this anymore, especially because of the fact that you did just retreat that Kaisa Survivor. Knows that that is always an option to come in accelerated, and instead has a Hopeful and a Sentry just to continue to try and put some pressure on Chris from the back row. I did see that Chris had that Acathian Rain that you'd mentioned, and this board is certainly rainable, especially when you have a unit already. It kind of becomes like, hey, I'm going to just get rid of all this. We're going to reset, and I'm still going to be getting some points and having the pressure on the board.
Yeah, the rain is an option. Of course, the massive mech is an option. There was a Watcher that was just picked up as well. I don't like the Watcher here necessarily unless you just really want to try to catch up on points. Chris A is technically down one, and an accelerated Watcher would allow him to conquer the Grove, but I think that comes into play effect is too powerful to not get some value from it. But I don't hate the idea of just playing this big mech, knowing that we still have the rain. You can play that maybe next turn if you need to catch up. Might even hit some more valuable targets potentially. And yeah, we're going to see that. So a mega mech.
I think the big breaker on the decision here of mech versus rain as well is also this Pouty Poro, right? Do you really want to play rain and recycle 3 when you're not so far behind in points where Goldenglue is kind of knocking at the door of winning the game, and you could just keep all these runes for a future turn and develop a huge body that you're going to be able to kind of have safely at home. It's not going to go down to just a falling star. It'll be ready to pressure the game further as we go forward. And maybe Goldenglue will further overextend on this next turn into a rain that gets even better.
Well, it looks like the decision's going to be following this mech up with a falling star anyway.
Still could just do that onto the Hopeful so that it can't just trade kind of 1-to-1.
Yes, I was just going to say, if you get rid of the Hopeful, it also means that the other two don't naturally get rid of it. So Chris A potentially trying to get that hold point as well. But I love the development of the mech because, as you also pointed out, there is no power invested in it. That's one of the other reasons that it's been making its way into sideboards is not only is it massive, but when you play it, you don't have to recycle anything. But
very quick decision for Goldenglue here. He looks up at Chris A's board. He's like, 4 plus 8. Huh. That's 12, I believe, which is the exact amount of damage that a Acathian Rain can do in instances of 2, and it was a 4 and an 8, which is just perfect. Rain going to get rid of everything, and Goldenglue going to be able to pick up 2 quick points with that Pouty Poro and that Watchful Sentry. So while Chris decided, hey, the Rain isn't as good here, and I can avoid a falling star, I didn't realize Goldenglue was going to exactly 7 runes on that turn, and that is the perfect punish.
Yeah, that is a great play from Goldenglue. Really trying to just extend this points lead up to 5 already. Chris has a lot of tools. We know that there's the Watcher. We know that there is still that Kaisa. Goldenglue knows it as well because it was retreated. So Chris isn't out of this game, but that was a pretty big setback in terms of the pacing because Goldenglue already up to 5. 5 is not 6, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, it is nearly there, right? Of course, it does mean there is 1 extra turn that Chris has to try and stabilize this spot. And it's going to start with just sending Kaisa into the Pouty Poro on Grove, but Goldenglue did conquer into the Targon's Peak. He's got 2 runes available. There is potential that he's got game in this spot, and Chris has to be wary of that. Wow. And he is going to start it with a Cleave to try and avoid getting blown out by a Void Seeker.
Yeah, the Cleave with the priority there is just the insurance against a Void Seeker, and I really like that, if anything, just because you get rid of the Pouty Poro. As you had pointed out before with the rain, the last thing you wanted to do was recycle even more runes. And though it might not seem like a big deal, that little 2/2 with the deflect is kind of a thorn in the side of any players that have a spell-based deck. And it turns out that's Kaisa. So I think Chris was kind of waiting for that Poro to become a bit vulnerable and then capitalize with this Kaisa.
And Goldenglue looking. This is all the accelerate options, actually.
Yes.
You've got Kaisa Survivor, you've got Darius Cleave, and you've got Watcher. There's all of the main options you're looking for.
And 2 1-cost combat tricks. Like this
exactly.
is everything Goldenglue really wants to see at this point. Because of the hold is at that magic number 6, so within striking distance with a double conquer in future turns. Not this turn because it was a hold to get there, but we're going to see Darius with the Stupefy to threaten the Kaisa.
Yeah, it's 7 into 4 as of now. Chris says, hey, I got nothing for it. Goldenglue going to pick that up, go up to the 7 points. Now needs to look for either a hold or double conquer on the following turn. Now, I will say, at this point, he doesn't have good options to double accelerate in hand, right? He can do a single, because the Watchers are too expensive for him to double accelerate. So if Chris can clear the board, he may buy himself a little bit of space. He might buy himself some time to be able to actually set up to mount a comeback, because Goldenglue, as of now in the hand, we know is not going to end the game with a double conquer straight away.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, we know Chris has the capacity because there is the
wait, that is perfect. Is that just enough runes? He does get to channel one more. Gets the Darius back to hand. He's one short.
One short.
He's
yes.
one short. He needs 10 to be able to play Darius and then accelerate Kaisa and push into both. And I believe we're both counting 7 here, right?
Yep.
And this is going to become 9.
7 is what I count will become 9 once Goldenglue does this. But we also still have a draw coming for the turn, so perhaps that is going to change the math here. Looks like a Falling Star was picked up.
Another cleave.
Another cleave as well. So close. Needed 10 to be able to double accelerate.
Yeah, but instead he's just going to say, all right, some board management. Just deal with your Noxus Hopeful, and then I can look to maybe just draw another card, right? You can just play Darius again. Just look to draw a card.
You could do that, or again, if you don't want to make them vulnerable and you know that you just need the double conquer, there could be an argument made for...
All right. Kaisa instead, draw 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could make an argument for you just hold and then go for it the next turn as well, but I really like this. Kaisa goes in because Goldenglue's at 7 points. The effect, the replacement effect, instead of gaining a point, is drawing a card, and then her conquer ability triggers. Goldenglue gets 2 more cards in hand.
And Chris just squarely on the back foot, right? Just has the runes, has a lot of cards. The problem is just he has to deal with every single threat as Goldenglue plays it out right now. He doesn't have a leg to stand on, and it really just comes down to, can he keep these threats at bay before Goldenglue finds a double accelerate, or before he finds the ability to create enough of a board presence that Chris can't answer it. And then it becomes the end of the game. And you can see Chris has these Watchers. I mean, you can deploy a Watcher. You can get in there. You'll be able to deal with this Kaisa. But will that actually be enough?
The interesting bit is, once this happens, so Chris is, of course, going to play the Watcher, and I think that you have to do this. You have to deal with the Kaiser anyway. Getting in here, getting a big body on the board, I think, is very relevant as well. We know Goldenglue has at least a Watcher on their end, so we could just see like Watcher for Watcher trades for a bit. But in buying time, every time Chris A does this, they get that conquer point to try to catch back up to 7, right?
Yeah. No, it does help, especially when it is Watcher as the answer, right? You clear away the unit, you get the conquer. When it's the spells, it helps a little less, but this, as you said, this is getting you a little bit more mileage. This is slowly clawing the game back towards you. And though Goldenglue does have an answer to this immediately, I'm looking at Chris A's hand. There's another Watcher there.
That's what I was trying to say. It's just Watcher for Watchers potentially. The real X factor is Goldenglue got to draw a number of cards. So what is possible with the leftover runes? I count 9. Once again, right, we were at 9 before, did the Watcher thing, so Watcher recycles 2, then you get 2 back, so still at 9. Not likely to have anything that you want to do with that rune this time around, but next turn, if there is, say, like a Hextech Ray or something like that, could slow Chris down, because this Watchful Sentry is actually relevant. If they go Watcher for Watcher for a couple of turns, but then the Sentry can get over there on Grove, Chris A might be sneaking back into things.
Yeah, I think I might have caught a glimpse of an Acathian Rain in Chris's hand. And if Goldenglue decides, hey, you're at 4, let me try and set up and go for that double conquer, that's where a real blowout could occur, where that Acathian Rain cleans up everything that Goldenglue does, and then Chris gets to go 6 to 8 from there.
It looks like that might be the case, because we're going to start things off with a Lecturing Yordle on the side of Goldenglue.
Yeah. Could still just see like a Darius Cleave try and push over the top. I think there are 6 runes available still after that Yordle.
Yep.
Darius Stupefy, Darius Cleave,
Darius
both
comes
options.
Down. Darius sees himself as the second card, so should essentially
have
instantly ready.
Yep. Oh, but he plays the Darius and passes.
Oh no! And then I was gonna say, you see the hand over the face. I'm wondering if Goldenglue
Yep.
is realizing now, like, oh,
I think he also realized he's dead to warp. I think that's the big thing he realizes.
yes, you would absolutely be correct, because Chris A here with the hold point would be able to move the sentry into the grove. That would be 6, and then with a warp would get 2 hold points. All right, so Goldenglue, I was going to say, I think realized that this Darius is supposed to be ready, and then they walked it back. So we are seeing
look,
the...
I love the sportsmanship of both the players.
Yeah,
you know, just kind of recognize, like, hey, this is what I was supposed to do. Oops. And heading back through. Class act from Chris. Lets it go. Says, you know what? Yeah, you didn't realize? Go ahead. Brings it back. Probably just going to be a watcher from Chris. As you said, watcher for watcher. Going to have to be played.
Yeah, the issue for Chris, though, is that it wasn't Goldenglue's watcher. It was a Darius this time. So now, you know, if this game ends up being decided by whoever has the last watcher played, currently that's looking like Goldenglue. However, again, Chris does still have the benefit of being able to walk this sentry into the grove to further try to close that points gap.
Yeah, could always just go for rain instead of watcher on this turn. Just clean up what Goldenglue's got. Looks like that might be the consideration, but no, will just be the watcher.
Yeah, I see 2 watchers on the side of Goldenglue. 3? What's the other? Yeah, that looks like 3.
2 watchers, and then there's...
What's the other 7?
Oh, is that a 7? I thought it was a 2. No, it must be a 7. Yeah, 3 watchers in hand for Goldenglue.
I mean, it could be a 2. Maybe that's a smoke screen in from the
If it was a
sideboard.
smoke screen, I think you'd probably play it here with the 2 runes up from the Targon's Peak.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think you were initially right with your take that this was all 3 watchers available for Goldenglue to try and close out this game. As Chris has pushed those points up, trying to get closer.
All right, so watcher for watcher continues. Lots of watching happening. If you are watching at home, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining the broadcast.
So, watcher on peak at 4 currently. Goldenglue does have 2 units to push in. Has the cleave as well. Try and play around something like maybe a smoke screen to push the watcher, his own watcher, down to 3 up against Chris's 4. Gonna start with just the lecturing Yordle. See if Chris has anything that he wants to deploy. Stupefy. Slow this down.
Well, it does more than slow it down. It actually makes it potentially an even trade, which would be huge, because that would potentially prevent Goldenglue from getting the double conquer this turn.
Right.
Goldenglue does still have options.
Yeah, can just play the cleave onto the lecturing Yordle, but then you would be out of spells trying to deal with the watcher from Chris.
Yeah.
Just going to let the trade happen.
And I really like this because this take on the watcher is really important. If you're guaranteed the trade on the other side, you still also want to guarantee at a minimal that this is an even trade as well, because Chris, through scratching, clawing, biting their way through this, has went all the way up to 7 as well. So Chris is a single hold away from winning here. Goldenglue wanted to play it safe and say, hey, if there is some sort of shenanigans here, I do also have the cleave.
Another sentry going to hit the table. So once again, we'll have multiple units on the next turn, even if this watcher is answered, unless we see something like an Acathian Rain picked up, and it is in hand.
It is in hand, along with a Hextech I see as well.
Rain is going to be the only answer available for Chris. He's going to have to deploy it here. We'll give another draw to Goldenglue. Can continue to try and just chip away with this with the watcher after watcher after watcher each and every turn.
Well, so the problem here, though, is that Rain will clean up the board, but unless Chris A has a unit, they're still going to be on the back foot. Goldenglue. All right, we do see the unit as well, the sentry. And that's, again, really important, I think, for trying to take advantage of the tempo. Because this is, I can feel it in my bones, a game that will be won through a double conquer at this point.
Yeah, it almost must. It feels like they both have enough resources to kind of get through, but Chris is actually running very low
And
cards.
the double Darius comes down.
That should be plenty. Chris only having a Hextech Ray. Double Darius. Both of them going to come in ready. That's going to be the first one getting the draw. Second one comes through. Goldenglue going to pick up this win. 2-0 in the Kaisamir, keeping his tournament hopes alive at XN1.